Hello, everybody, and welcome to Celluloid Jam. My name is Casey.
And my name is Zach.
And normally Celluloid Jam is just a podcast available exclusively in audio format, but we decided to switch it up a little bit today and do a video for a topic that is near and dear to our hearts today, and we'll probably forget about it tomorrow. Today is January 19th, 2021.
And some big news dropped today. That's right, we are finally getting the Willy Wonka prequel that nobody asked for.
Yay! Exactly. Today it was announced that Warner Brothers is releasing a prequel to Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory that's all about Willy Wonka's early years, and it's going to be called Wonka.
And you know, it could be good, could be bad, but the bottom line is, today we were just wondering, when's the last time that we've got an original idea from Warner Brothers?
When you think about the last few years, you think about all the superhero movies and all the Harry Potter movies and everything. It is hard to think of, like, when was the last time I watched a movie that's like a totally original story.
Mm-hmm.
So we should preface this by saying, like, Warner Brothers is not the only studio that does this.
Exactly.
Universal's guilty of this. Disney especially is guilty of this with Marvel and Star Wars and all that stuff.
Paramount has Star Trek and Transformers.
Yeah, so everybody's guilty of this. We should also, disclaimer, say that just because a movie is based on something else doesn't mean it's bad. There's several movies on this list that, are remakes or based on other stories that we love. So
the point is, in the past couple of years, there has been more of a prevalence of movies that have been based off of properties rather than originality. Steaming. Shh. We're recording a video podcast here. We'll just wait for that to...
Yeah. So basically what we did is we made a spreadsheet listing every film that Warner Brothers has released in the last 5 years, and then we categorized it as either a purely original movie, or if it's based on something else, what was it based on? Is it a remake? Is it based on a true story? Is it based on a book? Is it based on a video game? All that jazz. So
and it was a lot more than I thought. Yeah, these past 5 years have been rough.
It was illuminating. And so basically, this video isn't necessarily meant to criticize. It's a little bit critical, but mostly is just there for the statistics, okay? How many movies have been released in the last few years from Warner Brothers that are based on truly original concepts?
People always say that originality is dead in Hollywood, and this kind of, more or less, kind of the same.
So we're going to be working backwards through the last 5 years. So we're going to be starting with 2020, then 2019, 2018, and so forth. So we're going to be starting out with the year that is admittedly the weirdest of them all because of the pandemic.
And I think it should be noted that we handled different years. So I handled all the odd years in the past 5 years, and Casey handled all of the even-numbered years. So this is more or less going to be like telling each other what we learned. This is like a school presentation.
Right, so the first year we are doing is 2020. So the first movie that Warner Brothers released this year, pre-pandemic, was Birds of Prey. Now that, of course, is based on an existing property, DC. Then we have The Way Back, starring Ben Affleck. That is actually an original film. No, it was not. I thought it'd be based on a book or a true story. It was not. It's just a sort of familiar story, but it is purely original. Then we have Scoob.
And that's original.
It is not. It's based on the existing property of Scooby-Doo. Then we have Tenet, which is original. It is off the dome, off Christopher Nolan's dome, for better or for worse. It is, if nothing else, original. And finally, just because we didn't have a lot of movies come out in 2020 because of everything, going on, I decided to go ahead and add in Locked Down, which is technically a 2021 release. It takes place during the pandemic, which, but it is original, so that's there. So the final stats for 2020, all right? 58% original films released from Warner Brothers in 2020. Not all of them were winners, but over half of them were original concepts.
Well, you're going to appreciate that number much more whenever we jump into 2019, Casey. So, 2019, the year before the pandemic, so movie theaters were arguably at their peak. Box office was a grand old time. So the first movie we have of the year in 2019 is The Lego Movie 2, the second part. That is part of the Lego franchise. Isn't it romantic? Or although it's a riff on the stereotypes of romantic comedies, it is original. This is fun. Do you remember Nancy Drew and the Hidden Staircase? Detective Pikachu, which...
Ooh, masterpiece.
Cinema.
Detective Pikachu is a cinematic masterpiece.
Pure Kino.
Arguably the best movie based on a video game.
Anyway, that's part of the Pokemon franchise. The Goldfinch, based on a book. This might be my favorite statistic right here. The movie cost $49 million to make, and then it ended up making $10 million worldwide. Joker, which is based off of the DC character of the same name, huge hit, made $1 billion around the world. I almost slapped you.
We live in a society.
It made $1 billion worldwide. Huge hit. Won Joaquin an Oscar. Everybody knows it.
You're laughing? The Joker made $1 billion and you're laughing?
Wait, is it you're laughing or you think that's funny?
I think the
The
meme is you're laughing.
But the line is like, you think that's funny? And he says, yes, and I'm tired of pretending it's not. Anyway, let's keep going. So if you did the math in your head, 2019 brings it down to about 5% originality.
Isn't It Romantic was the only, like, purely original film that came out in 2019 from Warner Brothers.
I mean, you had some good nuggets in there, but yeah, they're all based on something.
Yeah, I love Detective Pikachu.
And I love Shazam. And I'm sure if I watched The Goldfinch, I would love it too.
All right, so 2018 did start out strong. Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers released Paddington 2.
Oh, be still my heart. I love Paddington 2 so much.
Paddington 2 is a great film. We're not arguing that at all. However, for the purpose of this, it is based on, the Paddington book. So it does not, count as a purely original film. Although I will say they did do a lot of original stuff with the material.
Oh,
but
absolutely.
Still based on an existing property. Then we have Ocean's 8, which is, both like a spin-off of the Ocean's franchise and also a sequel. The original with, Brad Pitt, Matt Damon is also like a remake of a much older film with Frank Sinatra. So
some
that's
of these
fun.
franchises are just like snakes that are eating their own tails when you try and like look at their history.
Yeah, the Frank Sinatra one is also a Warner Brothers film. The Meg, which is loosely based off of a book by Steve Alton. This in research it said it was like loosely based, but the novel's also called like The Meg and
oh my god, this made so much money.
Yes, yep. A lot of movies in 2018 did make a lot of money for Warner Brothers. Like maybe they weren't working with a lot of original concepts, but they were working with bank. Then we have this movie called Head Full of Honey. I wasn't sure if I should include this on here.
I have no idea what that is.
Exactly. I had never heard of it before. It's a remake of a German film that when it was made in Germany was the most successful, like, German film of that year. Warner Brothers remade it and it just did extremely poorly. I looked at its box office numbers and I just put yikes in the box because in the US it made like $12,000 or something like that.
Ooh.
Yeah. Next up, we have The Mule. Love The Mule. I've never seen it, but I love it. So The Mule is based on a true story, inspired by this New York Times article, The Sinaloa Cartel's 90-Year-Old Drug Mule by Sam Dolnick. So then we have Aquaman. That's purely original,
Not based on anything.
They cast an actual Aquaman. That's based on DC and existing properties. So the score for the year, we got 3 original films out of a total of 22, coming to a total of 14% original. Indeed. Moving on to 2017.
Okay, so I'm going to take you back. 2017, Shape of You by Ed Sheeran is at the top of the charts, and we start off the year strong with the Lego Batman movie. That's a part of the Lego franchise, and as well as the Batman character, it's a lot of cooks in the kitchen in terms of the inspiration and where, the original property is from. Big hit. The Lego Ninjago movie, part of the Lego franchise. Never seen it. Saw that Dave Franco was in it. Good for him.
Man, it made $123 million.
But on a $70 million budget, that's
$50 million, that's potato money.
And then we have Geostorm, an original world-ending movie. Apocalypse, 2012 Independence Day movie.
I'm glad this is a video so they can see your hand movements, which I think are supposed to be a hurricane coming at you.
Add some sound effects here.
Sorry, we're the Geostorm, not the hurricane.
So looking back in a year of about 16 movies, we have 4 original films, which gives us about 25% original movies of the year.
Nice. All right. So moving on to 2016. Okay, so starting off 2016, we have the romantic comedy How to Be Single. It's based on a novel by Liz Taquillo. It's based on a novel. Then we have Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, which is based on the true story of that time that Batman and Superman got into a fight.
It was all over CNN. It was crazy.
It was crazy. Anderson Cooper, I'm pretty sure Anderson Cooper is actually in the movie. Really blurring the lines between reality and fiction, Batman vs. Superman.
Zack Snyder, you're doing amazing. Anyone tells you you're not doing great, don't listen to them. Just put your own cut on HBO Max.
I love Batman vs. Superman, ironically, but the more I watch it, the more it's becoming unironic. Based on DC. So adding it all up, so we got 18 movies that Warner Brothers released in 2016, and what is that, 7 of them were original films, and which comes out to a total of 39% of them were original concepts, which I think is pretty good compared to 2017 and 2018.
It's weird that we're doing this list backwards because it's just getting better the further we go back.
That's what I'm trying to illustrate, I think.
2015, great year. See You Again is at the top of the charts. We also have Hello by Adele. Right off the bat for 2015, February of that year, we are starting off strong with Jupiter Ascending. The Wachowski sisters,
who directed The Matrix
and Speed Racer. Oh, Cloud Atlas.
Yes, yeah.
Anyway, that was the biggest movie of the year, cost $200 million, could not even make that up. We're not going to talk about it anymore. Go straight to the next movie, which was... And finally, Christmas 2015, Point Break, the remake of Point Break.
Point Break is one of the best films ever made, and the fact that they remade it is horrifying. I have not seen the remake, though, and I really want to watch it.
I mean, it came out during the same time Star Wars The Force Awakens came out, so it was just not a good time to release anything. It didn't make a lot of money.
Still made its budget back, though.
It cost $105 million to make it. It ended up making $33 million, so it's fine.
Watch the original Point Break.
Yeah, it's really incredible. Mm-hmm. They have... I was about to quote it, but then we have to age restrict this video.
Okay, so yeah, what's the final stat for 2015?
The final stat for 2015, Warner Brothers released 21 movies that year. 10 of them were original, 11 of them were based off of an existing property, which gives us a nice 48% original ratio. So this was in recent, I guess, ever since 2020, this has been the year of the most originals, 2015.
Yeah. So 2020 is a bit of an outlier. Obviously, there were things going on that made 2020 a very different year for movie releases. But, most of these movies that they released in 2020 had to have been being made a few years ago. So even though it seems like, trending from 2015 to 2019, there were fewer and fewer original movies being made. It seems like maybe they responded to that backlash and decided to, release some of their originals on HBO Max.
Mm-hmm. You don't think any of these would have been released in theaters, like Super Intelligence?
I'm honestly not sure. I think some of them would have been. With American Pickle specifically, Seth Rogen was approached by, Netflix to make the movie, but he didn't want to get or maybe he wasn't approached by Netflix, but they talked about putting it on Netflix and they didn't want it to get lost in the shuffle. Because, when you go to Netflix, there's 1,000 things to watch. It's what am I going to pick? But with HBO Max, they wanted to put it on HBO Max because people will see it. It'll be one of the 5 things you can watch. That's what it was like when HBO Max first came out. Now it's a great streaming service.
Looking, ever since we did this study, I've noticed that Warner Brothers, at least from a studio standpoint, is more willing to give original ideas that are comedy based a chance, other than they're based on its star power or Kevin Hart or somebody famous like that. They're more willing to give an original idea a chance if it's a comedy, which is very interesting looking at some of these numbers, because a lot of your years that had Melissa McCarthy, those are original movies. So it's very interesting to see that kind of ratio and where originals are placed.
It seems like a lot of the originals are comedies or horror films.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, do with this data what you will. Let's go ahead and run through this one more time. We'll go 2015 forward. 2015, 48% original. 2016, 39. 2017, 25. 2018, 14%. 2019 was 5%. But then in 2020, weird year, but we're back up to actually 58%, which is the highest number of any of these years.
Which, that's kind of a silver lining.
Yeah.
But, people all over the internet are saying things like, why aren't there any more original ideas coming out of Hollywood? And it's clear that there are.
Yeah, I think as we're drowning in, the Star Wars movie, in the Star Wars and the Marvel and all the superheroes, DC, maybe some of these original ideas are getting lost in the shuffle. But bear in mind, these big studios, they aren't the only people making movies. There's also a lot of independent movies being released. Netflix, has some good movies buried down there. Buried in the pile of movies that they release. I highly recommend going to websites like IndieWire and, Variety and whatever movie website, and look at their list of best films that released in 2020, 2019. See if you can find those films on a streaming platform.
Support your indie filmmakers, because they're going to be the ones who go on to make Marvel movies or your superhero movies or your big budget blockbusters, because you have people like Denis Villeneuve went on to make Blade Runner 2049. You have Ryan Coogler, who made Fruitvale Station and then jumped to Black Panther. You have Chloe Zhao, I think. Chloe, she made Nomadland this year, and now she's directing The Eternals.
Yeah, previously she made The Rider. Then you have Taika Waititi, who made a bunch of films in New Zealand. Probably one of the most popular is Hunt for the Wilder People. And then he was handed the keys to Thor.
And then John Watts made Spider-Man Homecoming when he previously made movies like Clown and Cop Car.
Alrighty, so I guess we'll wrap this up now. This has been really fun. We're probably going to cut this down for the YouTube format. So if you want to listen to us go through every single film that was released in each of these years, go listen to our podcast, which is linked down below. We also review movies that have come out specifically in 2020, but we might be expanding in the future. So if you like movie podcasts, give us a listen. In the meantime, do with this data what you will.
And that's the way the ice cream sundaes.
Wonka Wonka.
Girls, just Wonka have fun.
They're gonna make a, Wonka movie. Why don't they call it Free Willy? Free Willy 3!
There was already a Free Willy 3.
Free Willy 4! Willy Wonka in the Chocolate Factory.
That'd be an insane crossover. I hate to say it, but Timothée Chalamet would be a perfect choice for a young Willy Wonka.
Cursed knowledge. If you morphed Timothée Chalamet and Lucas Hedges, literally just, I guess what I really am saying is I want them to dye Timothée Chalamet's hair like an auburn brown.
You want Timothée Chalamet to gain 20 pounds worth of muscle?
Is Willy Wonka jacked?
Oh no, I thought you were talking about Lucas Hedges mixed with Timothée Chalamet.
I mean, I was. I realized midway through saying that I think Timothée Chalamet just needs to have different colored hair to play Willy Wonka.
But yes, I need my Willy Wonkas jacked. I want to see him bench press an Oompa Loompa.
Ugh.
Let me turn this off.